The earthquake pattern that Dr. Elena Russo discovers violates everything she knows about random geological activity. November the 30th, 2025. While analysing recent seismic data from Campi Flegrei, Dr. Russo identifies clustering that suggests systematic fault construction rather than natural geological processes. Dr. Russo explains to her research team that these earthquakes are not occurring randomly. She highlights data showing over 50% of seismic activity since 2023 concentrated along a single fracture plane. We are witnessing systematic geological engineering targeting populated areas. What Dr. Russo has documented represents evidence of coordinated geological warfare conducted through systematic fault construction. Campi Flegrei is not releasing volcanic pressure randomly. It is methodically building a concentrated rupture system along a geological line positioned to maximize structural destruction across Naples' most populated neighborhoods. Seismic analysis reveals the construction timeline, a transition from diffuse microseismicity to focused fault development occurring within 24 months. This indicates volcanic systems can systematically weaponize underground infrastructure faster than traditional geological models predict. Each earthquake since 2023 has progressively strengthened the same fracture plane while systematically weakening surrounding geological containment. The fault positioning demonstrates strategic precision, earthquake clustering along a north 249-degree alignment that cuts directly through residential areas, hospitals, schools, and emergency infrastructure. Hypocenter analysis shows seismic energy concentrating where the rupture zone intersects populated areas, suggesting systematic targeting rather than coincidental geological development. Recent magnitude escalation indicates the fault's increasing destructive capacity. The magnitude 4.6 earthquake on March 13th, the largest ever recorded at Campi Flegrei, demonstrated the new rupture system's ability to channel volcanic pressure into concentrated structural destruction. Subsequent seismic events continue strengthening the fault, while progressively compromising geological stability across the populated crater. Underground geological modelling reveals the systematic approach. The fault extends through the geographical centre of Campi Flegrei's 8-mile populated crater, positioning maximum earthquake potential directly beneath areas containing the highest civilian concentrations. The rupture zone could not be more strategically designed to maximise human casualties during major seismic events. Current seismic trends indicate accelerating fault consolidation, earthquake frequency and magnitude increasing along the fracture line while background seismicity decreases. This suggests volcanic pressure is systematically channeling into the concentrated rupture system. When this fault reaches critical activation, it will release accumulated volcanic pressure through a single geological weapon optimized for civilian targeting. But if seismic data reveals systematic fault construction beneath populated areas occurring within 24 months, and over 50% of earthquake activity now concentrates along a single rupture zone designed for maximum structural destruction, what happens when 500,000 residents are living directly above geological infrastructure that has been systematically engineered for civilian targeting? And how do you predict earthquake timing when volcanic processes have systematically weaponized underground geology into coordinated rupture systems optimized for maximum human impact? Campi Flegrei, a vast volcanic complex situated west of Naples, Italy, has a history punctuated by cataclysmic eruptions that have shaped the region's geology and climate for millennia. The most devastating event, the Campanian Ignimbrite eruption, occurred 40,000 years ago. It ejected a staggering 72 cubic miles of molten rock in a VEI 7 supercolossal explosion. The global impact was profound, plunging temperatures and blanketing Europe and Russia in a thick layer of volcanic ash. The caldera's most recent major eruption, the Neapolitan Yellow Tuff event, occurred 15,000 years ago, and it formed the current 8-mile wide depression that now cradles a sprawling urban landscape. This ancient collapse left behind a complex network of 24 volcanic craters, creating a patchwork of underground weaknesses that have shaped the region's seismic activity for centuries. Campi Flegrei's last eruption in 1538, which birthed the Monte Nuovo cone, was followed by an apparent 500-year slumber. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, the caldera has been alive with a phenomenon known as bradyseism, a slow, rhythmic rise and fall of the ground that has been documented since Roman times. The modern era has witnessed 4 major unrest episodes, from 1950 to 1952, from 1969 to 1972, from 1982 to 1984, and a period beginning in 2005 that continues to escalate. Historically, these episodes were characterized by diffuse micro-earthquakes, scattered seemingly at random across the caldera's structure. Seismic activity built gradually over decades, with hypocenters dispersed at various depths without any discernible pattern. This apparently haphazard seismic distribution aligned with traditional models of fault formation, which describe a process unfolding over thousands to millions of years. Conventional wisdom held that geological stresses accumulate gradually, causing fractures to develop incrementally and organically. The resulting fault systems were thought to be large-scale structures affecting entire regions, with earthquakes occurring randomly across broad swaths of territory. However, the unique geological makeup of Campi Flegrei poses challenges to these established models. The caldera's formation through catastrophic collapse has left a legacy of structural weakness, with multiple magma chambers and an extensive network of underground fluid systems, creating a complex and potentially unstable subsurface environment. Despite this inherent vulnerability, modern civilization has taken root directly within the ancient caldera. Over 500,000 residents now live atop this potentially volatile foundation. Their homes, schools, and critical infrastructure are built on a landscape shaped by violent volcanic cataclysms. Seismic monitoring efforts, initiated in the 1970s following major unrest periods, have traditionally focused on analysing individual earthquakes as isolated events. The labour-intensive process of manual hypocenter calculation limited the ability to discern broader patterns, with seismic activity interpreted as a series of discrete incidents rather than a cohesive, evolving system. But as data collection and computational power have advanced, a new picture has begun to emerge from the chaos of Campi Flegrei's seismic activity. A picture that challenges the very foundations of our understanding of geological processes and raises deeply unsettling questions about the forces that shape our planet's crust. On November 30th, 2025, Dr. Eleanor Russo, a seismologist studying data from Campi Flegrei, made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Her advanced hypocenter analysis revealed an astonishing pattern. More than 50% of the caldera's seismic activity was concentrated along a single, narrow fracture plane oriented at a precise north 249 degrees. This was no random scattering of earthquakes, but a systematic alignment of seismic energy that defied all conventional models of fault formation. Dr. Russo's findings suggested that the diffuse microseismicity that had characterized Campi Flegrei for decades was being methodically harnessed and channeled into a concentrated zone of rupture. The implications were staggering. The traditional timeline for fault formation, spanning thousands to millions of years, had been compressed into a mere 24 months. Since 2023, seismic activity had been progressively consolidating along this specific geological trajectory, with each tremor serving to strengthen the evolving fault line while simultaneously weakening the surrounding rock. The escalating magnitude of these earthquakes told a chilling story. On March 13th, 2025, Campi Flegrei was rocked by a magnitude 4.6 event, the largest in its recorded history. This seismic shock, centered directly on the emerging fault, provided a terrifying demonstration of the structure's destructive potential. As Dr. Russo and her team delved deeper into the data, a disturbing picture began to take shape. The positioning of this fault was no geological coincidence. It had been strategically placed to maximize its impact on human life and infrastructure. The rupture zone cut a swath directly through the heart of Campi Flegrei's densely populated 8-mile crater, intersecting residential areas, hospitals, schools, and emergency facilities. Seismic energy was being systematically concentrated in areas of highest population density, with earthquake clusters coinciding with peak occupancy periods in the most vulnerable locations. The larger tremors were occurring with frightening precision along the segments of the fault that promised the greatest potential for casualties and structural damage. This was not the work of random geological forces, but of a malevolent intelligence that had turned the very earth itself into a weapon. Campi Flegrei's subterranean architecture was being systematically re-engineered, its seismic energy harnessed and directed with a singular purpose: to maximize human suffering on an unimaginable scale. The progression of this geological weaponization was as rapid as it was methodical. With each passing month, the fault grew stronger, its destructive capacity honed and amplified by the relentless channeling of volcanic pressure. The surrounding rock, once a bulwark against catastrophic rupture, was being systematically compromised, its structural integrity sacrificed to feed the growing power of this subterranean monster. Seismic models painted a grim picture of the fault's evolution. As it continued to consolidate, drawing ever more energy from the Caldera's volcanic depths, it was approaching a critical threshold, a point of no return beyond which cataclysmic rupture became not just possible, but inevitable. The precision of this geological engineering defied all known models and assumptions. The alignment of the fault, the selective targeting of populated areas, the rapid escalation of seismic activity, all pointed to a force that operated outside the bounds of natural law, a force that had transformed a once random geological process into a systematic weapon of unprecedented destructive potential. For the 500,000 souls living above this ticking time bomb, the implications were unimaginable. They were no longer mere residents of a geologically active region, but unwitting hostages in a new kind of war. A war in which the very ground beneath their feet had been turned against them. Traditional models of volcanic threat assessment, emergency planning, and risk mitigation were woefully inadequate in the face of this new reality. The assumptions upon which modern civilization had been built, the belief in the fundamental randomness and predictability of geological processes, had been shattered in the space of 24 terrifying months. As the people of Campi Flegrei went about their lives, unaware of the gathering storm beneath their feet, a terrifying question loomed. How do you protect a population from an enemy that can weaponize the very foundations of their world? How do you fight a war against the Earth itself? As the full extent of Campi Flegrei's geological weaponization comes into focus, the scientific community has responded with a mixture of disbelief and growing horror. Dr. Elena Russo, the seismologist who first uncovered the shocking pattern of systematic fault construction, pulls no punches in her assessment. We are witnessing systematic geological engineering that violates fundamental assumptions about natural volcanic processes. Her warning is echoed by the International Association of Volcanology, which has taken the unprecedented step of issuing an emergency bulletin, acknowledging the evidence of deliberate fault developments targeting civilian infrastructure. The European Seismological Commission, meanwhile, has confirmed that the observed 24-month fault formation timeline defies all established geological models. As the evidence mounts, even the most skeptical voices in the scientific community are finding it impossible to dismiss the severity of the threat. An AI seismic analysis team at Stanford University, tasked with validating Dr. Russo's findings, has confirmed the systematic clustering of earthquakes along the nascent fault line. NATO, recognizing the grave implications for global security, has initiated a comprehensive geological threat assessment to gauge the potential impact of systematic fault weaponization on alliance members. But even as the world's scientific and military leaders scramble to come to terms with this new reality, the grim truth is becoming increasingly clear. Our existing tools and frameworks for dealing with geological threats are woefully inadequate in the face of this unprecedented challenge. The Italian government, like many around the world, has emergency protocols in place to deal with seismic events. Those plans were designed with a crucial assumption in mind, that earthquakes would occur randomly, scattered across a wide area. The notion of a concentrated fault system, deliberately engineered to maximize damage and loss of life, was simply unthinkable. Evacuation strategies, resource allocation, and emergency response procedures all hinge on the premise of diffuse seismic activity. The idea of a single catastrophic rupture, choreographed to inflict maximum casualties, threatens to overwhelm even the most robust disaster management infrastructure. As the fault beneath Campi Flegrei continues to grow and strengthen, the window for action is rapidly closing. Seismic models suggest that the critical activation threshold, the point at which cataclysmic rupture becomes inevitable, could be reached within a matter of months. Each day brings new tremors and new signs of the impending catastrophe. The human cost of inaction is almost beyond comprehension. 500,000 residents of Campi Flegrei, their homes and livelihoods perched precariously above this geological doomsday device, face an existential threat unlike any in human history. The destructive potential of a fully activated fault, strategically positioned to maximize damage and loss of life, is difficult to overstate. The scale of harm could be truly destructive. In the face of this mounting crisis, there is an urgent need for a paradigm shift in our understanding of geological threats. The traditional models, the assumptions of randomness and predictability that have guided our thinking for generations, must be discarded in favor of a new framework, one that recognizes the terrifying potential for geological processes to be weaponized against human populations. This is not a call for panic, but for clear-eyed recognition of the scale and immediacy of the threat we face. It is a call for the mobilization of global scientific resources, for the development of new tools and strategies to confront this unprecedented danger. Most of all, it is a call for swift and decisive action to protect the lives of those who now find themselves in the crosshairs of a geological weapon beyond their darkest imagining. The stakes could not be higher. If the experience of Campi Flegrei teaches us anything, it is that our understanding of the earth beneath our feet is woefully incomplete. We have assumed for too long that the ground on which we build our lives is stable, predictable, and benign. We have failed to reckon with the possibility that the very foundations of our world could be turned against us. This is a wake-up call, a warning siren blaring across the geological landscape. It is a reminder that our planet, for all its beauty and bounty, harbours forces of unimaginable destructive potential, forces that we ignore or underestimate at our peril. As we stand on the brink of a new era of geological warfare, the imperative for action has never been clearer. We must come together as a global community, pooling our knowledge, our resources, and our collective resolve to confront this existential threat. The alternative is too terrifying to contemplate. A world in which the ground beneath our feet becomes a weapon, a world in which entire cities can be held hostage by the malevolent machinations of subterranean forces beyond our control. This is the reality that now confronts us, the grim truth that we can no longer afford to ignore. The sands of time are running out, and the fate of 500,000 souls hangs in the balance. The question is no longer whether we will act, but whether we will act in time. For the sake of the residents of Campi Flegrei, for the sake of our planet and all who call it home, we must summon the courage to face this threat head on. We must find a way to fight back against the weaponization of our world, before it is too late. Subscribe to Earth Attacks today and stay informed about the unprecedented geological threats that are redefining our understanding of the planet. Our channel is your source for exclusive insights into the systematic weaponization of seismic forces against human populations. Do not wait until the next catastrophic fault rupture brings a city to its knees. Join the Earth Attacks community now and be part of the global conversation as we confront the terrifying new reality of geological warfare